Hi, this is Tim Martin, and this is my personal learning journey and action plan thereof for Management 521 Organizational Development and Change. So the assignment asks for three key learnings, but I think there are four that I really wanted to highlight because it was really these learnings were really kind of strong reinforcements and new learnings for me in this process. The first is effective OD and leadership characteristics and the importance of those in the process. Number two would be leveraging organizational structure, the different levels of the organization to manage and navigate change. Three is continued research and feedback and kind of some methodologies on how to do this. And then four would be the sustainability in changes and building sustainable changes in competencies in companies. So the reason I think that organizational effective OD leadership characteristics are so important is because for a leader to truly lead at a company, to lead employees and management through a new sort of a change, there's some key personal characteristics that are really pivotal in that leadership and navigation of employees. So the first that I want to highlight is emotional intelligence, the ability to lead and the ability to lead others by example through this emotional intelligence. So exhibiting a type of emotional self-awareness and ability to manage emotions in a way that it doesn't affect or negatively affect employees. Then there's self-management. So this would be it for me, time management and stress management. This is something that I really need help with, and I'll kind of get into some of my action plan later on this. But really managing the leader managing self in order to really, again, lead by example and have people really buy into that leader and not negatively affect those that we're trying to lead. Then there's emotional awareness and just being, an example of this would be strength under pressure, or stressful situations, those types of situations that may kind of push us to the limits, but being emotionally aware in order to kind of manage our own reactions or our responses to those situations is really important in leading people. Next, there are organizational levels, the different levels of an organization as being critical to effective change and organizational development for companies. So I think something that we realized even through the case studies in this course is that change is very, very complex. One action can affect another action. One person's actions can affect a whole slew of other people's actions and responses. And really, we need to have this holistic view of change. And this is senior leadership, middle management, all the way down to the individual workers. So in the Nehemiah case study or the Nehemiah analysis that we had done, we saw that Nehemiah had actually worked with the king in order to gain buy-in, and then worked with middle managers and people and individual workers to kind of diagnose and continually make sure that the wall was being built. So effective change involves all these organizational levels, and that's why I think this learning was so kind of critical in my view of it. I think I knew this inherently, but the case studies really brought it out in a way that was tangible in my learning. And then just the importance of leveraging that organizational structure in order to effectively manage change. So again, we've got senior leadership. If we don't get buy-in from the senior leadership, we don't sell that change to the senior leadership, and they don't come on alongside the company, then people aren't gonna, they're not gonna know who to follow or whether it's even important to the company. Then there's middle management, people that can kind of manage those tasks for the lower level employees to get all of the tasks done. That's of critical importance. And then just even managing the resistances that you might see on that level and the resistances you'd have on the individual level. So understanding that full organizational structure and how it kind of trickles down in this pyramid. I think the pyramid that I put on the side is really to kind of highlight that this is the structure that we need to work with. If we leverage it effectively from the top down, we're going to be able to see effective organizational change. The next subject would be action research or research and feedback. This is just a necessity throughout all phases of an organization's development and change. Really, it helps with the diagnosis phase and managing resistance. It's a means of building trust with employees. So, for example, if I'm on the job or if I'm a manager and I'm trying to lead my employees through the implementation of, say, a new ERP system, and I'm not engaging with them and getting feedback from them and doing my research on what's going on, I might miss those resistances, and then that whole project could fall apart. So I think that's critical. And then in the case study that we saw with Synergen, you see that research and feedback could have actually changed the nature of this merger that was essentially falling apart. If Synergen had done the research on Beaumont, then you would have seen that they would have been able to likely manage the transition a little bit better than they did. And this idea of research and feedback, it just highlights this understanding of complexities of change, and it is so critical in organizational change. There are so many levels of it, so many intricacies in how it plays together. One domino over here can affect the dominoes all the way over here, and you just don't know unless you're doing that research and feedback. Then there's building sustainability in change. So this is the idea of creating those repeatable, replicable processes during a change, so that when the change leader, or let's say the change agent, kind of steps away, that the organization is able to replicate those processes and doesn't need the training wheels to have that really carry on into the future. One of the examples that I used in the forums about this idea of sustainability is the idea of teaching a kid to ride a bike for the first time. Now, at first, they need those training wheels to stay afloat, right? And that's the change agent, or the OD practitioner that may come in to help a company with a change. That's like the training wheels. But ultimately, the goal is to take those off and let that kid ride. And what you find is that when you leave the training wheels on for too long, the turns aren't going to be fast enough. The top speed is not going to be as fast as it could be. And that's the same thing with a company. If we're at a company and we're reliant on outside support continually for change initiatives and different kind of support levels for maybe a different strategy initiative that we're doing, then ultimately we're going to slow down that top speed, and we're going to be dependent on that. And then if that falls away, we don't have anything. So to diagnose my level of mastery with these, to start, there's always improvement. I use even 8s and 9s, but honestly, this is on a 1 to 10 scale. There's going to be infinite ways to improve, even from 9 to 10, all the way through my life in these. So I don't want to make this seem like I've at all mastered any of these. But for leadership capabilities, emotional self-awareness, I'm probably about a 6. I think this is an area that I can really improve in over time. I find myself very stressed in situations and overwhelmed, probably partially due to being in the MBA program alongside working 2 jobs. It's very difficult for me a lot of times to kind of manage my stress. So this is an area that I really want to improve in. And there's self-management, management of time. Sometimes I overcommit and I just want to say yes in order to please people and kind of do what people want me to do. And sometimes this is not the right course of action. It can overload my schedule and make it a lot more difficult for me. Social awareness, I'm pretty keen on what goes on with different people at the company, and really just kind of gleaning information from them. I think I'm pretty good at that. Excuse me. Relationship management, again, I think this is one of my stronger points that I have. My leadership capabilities, those two, emotional self-awareness and self-management, are probably the ones that I really need the most improvement in. Then organizational levels, ground level employees, I think I'm very good at leading them. It seems that they are, I usually create a lot of credibility for those employees, and they trust me, and they trust that I'm going to really come alongside them. I'm not going to knock them down. I'm really trying to enable them. And people really respond well to me in the job situation. And something that I've had continual feedback in my career that I'm doing well. When there's middle management, I'm kind of right. I'm in that point in my career where I am middle management, but even leveraging my role and other middle managers' roles to really kind of help lead the company through different changes. I think I could use a little bit of improvement in there. And then the buy-in from senior leadership, that's something that I believe will come, a lot more with time and building more credibility and experience in my career. And we got the master from Karate Kid on the right. I forgot I put this picture in here. So for research and feedback, The ability to gain feedback from employees, I'm pretty good at that. I tend to ask good questions, try to engage employees, but I could still use a little bit of help in um, helping just being able to extrapolate more information, being more intentional in those situations. And then research gathering methodology, and this is kind of like what I would call the kind of process of gathering that research and putting it into some sort of data storage area or somewhere where we're storing this research. I'm not very good at that. I don't usually store it. It's all up in here, up in my head. And this is something that over time, I think I really could use some improvement in. And then building sustainability for processes in the company, probably about a 5 on this one. I could use some help or I could use some growth, in my ability to grow those sustainable processes. Again, I think the problem that I have is that a lot of it's in my head and I don't transfer it to paper enough. So the company relies on me, but I've also not created a good enough track in order for somebody else to follow my processes and procedures. So just for an action plan for each one, individual action plans on this. For leadership capabilities, just to kind of give a background at my job, we have a mentorship program that I'm currently a part of. They've identified me as a high potential employee and graciously given me the opportunity to be part of this mentorship program. So to develop these leadership capabilities, right now I'm currently being mentored by our Chief Innovation Officer, who's just a fantastic leader. And, leveraging him in his, with this relationship and being able to kind of gain feedback from him on things that he may notice about me in my day-to-day, in order to kind of continually gain that feedback for myself in order to improve. Then taking leadership courses, that never hurts. This is another part of my personal to professional development that I'd like to continue in. Open communication with all my mentors. My current boss, I consider him a mentor. Last year I was mentored by another executive at our company during the mentorship program, and I can always lean on her in order to kind of give me some guidance and feedback in my own leadership capabilities. And then just continued self-evaluations. This would be things like the DISC assessment and other types of self-evaluations that I can do to kind of figure out my level of mastery on it in areas that I can continue to improve upon. Then building sustainability and changes in the organization. This one's kind of more of the day-to-day processes that I can develop in order to better my ability to do this. So step 1 is creating SOPs, standard operating procedures for those things that I do, translating what I do that I have in my head onto paper. And that's actually been something that's on the forefront in our accounting department, but hasn't been completed yet because we've gone through some pretty drastic changes and had literally no time over the last 2 years. We've acquired a company, we've been bought out by another company or a private equity company. And we've just gone through a lot of changes, new ERP system, that kind of stuff. And so we haven't really had the capacity for that. But moving forward, developing those, I think, is going to be critical. And then, continuing one of the things that's happening upcoming here is that we are going to be hiring a new employee. So I want to practice again those SOPs with the new hire, just kind of test the waters, make sure that what I'm creating is something that's going to be usable and easily followed by the new hire, so that I know that anybody else can just open up my files. If something happens to me, heaven forbid I get hit by a bus, then somebody's going to be able to step in and just fulfill that role. Then helping employees, teaching them to fish rather than just giving them the fish. This is another action that I'm relatively good at, but just to continue to push to help employees learn those capabilities and help them build their own capabilities is huge in developing resourceful employees that can carry on whatever we're doing into the future. And then continued professional development courses. For research and feedback, my strong point is being able to ask those questions of the people. The weak point is that it's all in my head again. And so step 1 is to develop some templates for the research so that I can actually track that research and have it somewhere where I can refer back to it and not just be having it in my head. Others can refer back to it during these changes, so that there's kind of that audit trail of what's going on, that that the data that's been stored, in order to really go through and understand what's happening during the change, what can I be doing better, and helping myself even lead better in those situations. Develop a documentation method for research and feedback. This is just learning to do that day-to-day task of actually putting what I have experienced or what I know about the situation on a piece of paper. Then for organizational levels and developing that in my professional development would be to continue in the mentorship program, learn from leadership, continue to build that credibility with leadership. That would be through the mentorship program. And even, I didn't put this on here, but this would be something that I can personally do, would be to just continue to do my job really well and meet or exceed those different tasks and ways that just gain that credibility from senior leadership, where they understand that I know what I'm doing, and I think they lean on me a lot already, but I really, I think I can continue to develop on that one. And then leverage that relationship with different executives. So, I was kind of mentioning that the weaker point is just understanding how to really leverage that top level leadership, create buy-in from the top level leadership. I think that's going to come with time, but really leveraging that mentorship program and the relationship I have with all the executives at our company is going to be pivotal in that. So the accountability plan for this is to bring 3 key employees and mentors or coworkers alongside me in this, and just kind of explain where I'm at. The three mentors would be the manager of accounting, who I work very close with, our VP of finance, my boss. He's just been an amazing mentor to me, and he's always kept me accountable, but to continue to lean on him for that. And then leaning on my current mentor, the chief innovation officer, and bring him in on that accountability to, say, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What can I be improving upon? So with that, thank you so much for this course. I just appreciate it. It's been a great ride, and God bless. Thank you so much.